Próximo painel, o diretor de Bio-Manguinhos, senhor.
The next panel, the director of Bio-Manguinhos, Mr. Mauricio Zuma. He has a degree in administration. He's a doctor in innovation technology in Sussex University in England, and master in management of technology innovation in Fiocruz. He has an MBA by the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro and specialization in public administration in Brazilian Administration School of the Getúlio Vargas Foundation. I pass the floor to Mr. Mauricio Zuma.
Alô. Olá a todos.
Hello, everyone. So I ask you to wait just a moment to announce. We have announced for everyone who is entering the room yet. Just a second, please.
Então vamos lá, pessoal. Bom,
so we can start now. So this panel, we're going to do it in English, okay? So those who need the device for translation, please get it with the team.
Hello, everyone. Thanks a lot for coming over. It's a pleasure to be here and to see so many people participating in this event. It's amazing to see so many people interested in our event. So thanks a lot. And before entering the panel itself, I want to express my solidarity to the people of Rio Grande do Sul for the flood that has devastated several parts of the state. So it's very sad thing. So my solidarity, our solidarity for them. And just to let you know, it will be announced that I believe it will be announced here. There will be some collecting points for donations during the event outside. So if anyone wants to donate anything, there will be points for collecting the donations. Well, starting about our panel it's about DCVMN, presented by the members of its board. So for those who doesn't know what DCVMN is, DCVMN stands for Developing Countries Vaccine Manufacturers Network, a network founded almost 25 years ago, and with the objective to promote the development of the vaccine manufacturers of the Global South, and to allow their participation in the debates at the WHO. Dr. Akira here is one of the founders, and over these years, there has been a lot of development and growth of these manufacturers, and culminating with an important strategic role during the pandemic, as well as now important manufacturers, vaccine manufacturers. We are also important innovators. So I'm not going to anticipate what will be said during the presentation, but this is just a brief introduction about the DCVMN. Well, let me tell you that I'm very happy that we will have here all the board of the DCVMN participating in this panel. So I'm very glad to share with all of them this stage, and it shows the engagement and the commitment of all of us in the success of our network. Okay, that said, let me call all the participants of our panel here, starting by Dr. Adriansjah. Please, Dr. Adriansjah, Azhari. Dr. Adriansjah is the chair of our board and senior executive vice president of the Biofarma Indonesian manufacturer. Thank you, Dr. Adriansjah. Let me call here Dr. Tiago Rocca, vice chair of our board and business director of our brother institution, Butantan Institute. And let me call also Dr. Rachel Park, Director of International Business at EuBiologics, a manufacturer of South Korea. South Korea is no longer a developing country, but it's a pleasure to count on them, still on them in our network. Let me call also Dr. Venkatraman, Vice President of International Business at BharatBiotech, important Indian manufacturer. Let me also call here Dr. Andrew Wong, CEO of the Chinese manufacturer Walvax. Also, Dr. Fernando Lobos, Director and Deputy CEO of Sinergium Biotech, Argentinian manufacturer. And I think it's in virtually. Is there anyone? Virtually? Yes, oh, thank you. Dr. Sunil Gairola, Dr. Sunil Gairola is Executive Director of the Serum Institute of India, simply nowadays the biggest manufacturer of vaccine manufacturer in the world. And at last, not least, Mr. Rajinder Suri, please, the CEO of our network, the DCVMN. Well, our panel will start with a presentation by Mr. Rajinder Suri, and then after that I will make at least one question for each of the participants of our panel, and if you have time, I will open for questions from the audience. Mr. Suri, the floor is yours.
Okay, so thank you very much, Professor Mauricio Zuma, for this kind invitation, and on behalf of the entire board of DCVMN, I take this opportunity to thank him profusely for inviting us to join this illustrious audience of intellectuals to discuss what could be probably the most important aspects of human health, the vaccines. And we saw this morning, we heard the best of the speakers, and I'm really very, very honored to be part of this, high-value forum. So today, when we are talking about DCVMN, Mauricio actually stole some of the words that I wanted to use, so excuse me if I repeat that, but I would definitely like to introduce DCVMN to you, first of all, so that we are at the same page, same wavelength, and we know what we are talking about. As far as DCVMN is concerned, the Developing Country Vaccine Manufacturers Network, I see my friend Solo in the audience, so it's a pleasure to have him here. So as far as DCVMN is concerned, let me have I don't know how to move the slide. Let me see if I can do that. Yes, it moves. So we are a network of 45 vaccine manufacturers engaged in vaccine innovation, R&D, production, and finally delivery. We represent 16 countries across all 6 WHO regions, and I am very happy to share with you that we have been supplying to over 170 countries worldwide. Pre-COVID, the total capacity of developing country vaccine manufacturers was resting at 3.5 billion doses, which is today at 14 billion doses, 4 times. I think this deserves a big clap from all of you. In fact, I am very pleased to share again that we deployed all the platforms that could be used for COVID-19 during the pandemic, whether it was adenovirus-based non-replicating or replicating viral vector vaccines or nucleic acid, both DNA and RNA vaccines. In fact, we were the first to develop worldwide a DNA vaccine which was used for COVID-19. And of course, we have used very frequently the live attenuated vaccines as also the protein subunit vaccines. In fact, the best thing that happened during COVID amongst its devastating impact was that there was a collaboration worldwide in terms of international technology transfers with developing country vaccine manufacturers. To quote some of them, for example, AstraZeneca with the Serum Institute of India and SK Bio in Korea, and J&J USA with Bio-E in India and Aspen in South Africa, whereas Pfizer had a tie-up with Biovac in South Africa. Now, coming closer home, we are very happy to announce that there were several South-South collaborations within the developing country vaccine manufacturers, and these were, between Sinovac to Vaxira to PT Biopharma to, and Sinopharma, for example, had with Sodema and PT Chemia, and Serum Institute of India had a collaboration with Aspen in South Africa and Vaxira in Egypt. And within India, BharatBiotech had a drug substance manufacturing collaboration with Indian EuBiologics. I think this is the best success story that we can think of and write home about. It was a global ramp-up of vaccine production by the industry from 0 dose in December 2020 to within 1 year, they ramped up to 11 billion doses in less than 324 days, and then taking it to 13.59 billion doses, out of which I think you will be happy to note that more than 60% contribution came from the developing country vaccine manufacturers. So there were very clearly few enablers of the ecosystem, whether it is technology, whether it is regulatory harmonization, or establishing the framework. In terms of technology, I must say that it was early access to technology, IP and know-how, because IP alone could not have helped anybody. Even if I hand over to you on a pen drive the IP of a product, you will not be able to make vaccines. So what is important is the hand-holding, and that is what happened during the technology transfers. Then, of course, is the regulatory harmonization, and here I think we all have to thank our regulators throughout, whether it is US FDA, whether it is EMA or WHO or ANVISA, and several regulatory agencies within the countries who really helped to expedite. They were working round the clock. On 31st of December 2020, when all of us were celebrating New Year Eve, the regulators were sitting in their offices and giving approval to the vaccines. So thanks to them that we had the vaccines on time and much earlier than anticipated. Should move. I don't know why it is not moving. Sorry. Yes. So this is, the success story chapter which I wanted to share with you, that out of 13.59 billion doses, 8 billion doses have been contributed by the developing country vaccine manufacturers. I think this needs a little bit of a big hand from all of you. So this is a clear, demonstration of the fact that developing countries could contribute much more than was anticipated. I was speaking in US few months back, and it was surprising to know that many people did not know any other company other than Pfizer and Moderna. And I think this is something which all of us have a challenge to prove to the world, that what developing country vaccine manufacturers can contribute and can stand for. I think the cells of this have gone down. No. I don't know. Can somebody help? Just stay here. Yeah. Yes. Okay, done. Thank you. So, some of the challenges that we encountered, of course, all of you are aware about the shortages of raw materials and packaging materials right in the beginning of the COVID-19 that, created havoc, because you must appreciate that each vaccine requires more than 100 to 200 components to manufacture and get delivered in the marketplace. And even if there is shortage of one particular item, the whole value chain comes to a grinding halt. And this was something which was amazing, that at that time the DPA, the Defense Production Act, was put in by US, and the materials, particularly the single-use materials which were being manufactured only in US and some countries in Europe, were totally restricted to the other countries. The second, of course, was sustained investments and funding, and probably you will not have this information, that many companies, including Moderna, did not have access to funds very early in the stage, and it was risk funding which was probably came to the rescue of everybody, because the manufacturers started investing. For example, Serum Institute of India had built up an inventory of first 10 million doses and raising it to 50 million doses. Even if you consider it is $3 a dose, it is $150 million investment at risk before it gets approved. So I think this requires a lot of guts and a lot of vision, and thanks to Mr. Adar Poonawalla that we had this vaccine very early in the game. And then, of course, the virus was playing tricks with continuously moving from one variant to other, and there were several mutations. One of the biggest challenges that I think developing country vaccine manufacturers faced, Raleigh in the morning talked about $15 investment, $15 billion investment in COVID-19 vaccines. Out of that, $5.6 billion was invested in 1 year, first year 2021, and out of that, just 5% came to the developing country vaccine manufacturers. And this is something all of us should be aware, that we contributed 60% of the total volumes, and we got only 5% of the allocation of the funds. And I think this is something which we need to really stand for and go and raise our voice share. And that's what is really the role of developing country vaccine manufacturers today, that's what we are doing. Because there is a need for reflection for this disproportionate allocation versus the success rate of the deployed funding. So there were several lessons which we learned during the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, the goal stays to develop a holistic approach, including but not limited to, the positive predictive models and a much faster, access to strains, and of course, the funding, access to funding, which was, as I said, was more of risk funding, and definitely sustainable business partnerships, which is going to play a big role. Talking of pandemic accord, which is, I think, going to be one of the major milestones going forward for any public health emergency of international concern, it is important to note that, INB has been pursuing this. Of course, there have been some bottlenecks which have been encountered, but negotiations are going on, and we are very hopeful that something very positive will come out of a pandemic accord, which will make sure that you have sustainable supply of man, material, and machines when, without any restrictions or boundaries. And then, of course, speed and scale are important milestones, and CEPI's model of 100 days mission is going to be one of a landmark cornerstone in this direction. I must talk about investment in capacity building, and capacity building is not only in manufacturing facilities, but also in terms of building the manpower. And I think that is what is very important, and DCVMN is playing a big role in that. I'll just come to that in a few minutes. So what are the cardinal principles for successful technology transfer? Of course, it has to be the culture of the organizations involved, and I use an acronym LMP, which is like-minded people, because even if you have the best of technologies, they will not work unless you are mentally connected. And a mutual trust and transparency, because we have seen that the very, very important technology transfers have also failed because there was no trust between the partners. A rock-solid contract which envisions all the challenges and solutions are built into that, and this requires a lot of experience and expertise. And of course, we need to communicate with each other, we need to communicate with partners, we need to communicate with our managements, with the boards, with the employees, so everybody has to be on one page. And the most important, again, is the transfer of technical know-how, which I said is end-to-end hand-holding, which is critical for any tech transfer. So we at DCVMN, stand committed to innovation, to capacity building, in manufacturing in LATAM, in Africa, and also in other regions. And I was just speaking, that we will be working hard to make sure that there is an access to TB vaccine tech transfer at the earliest possible. And in terms of collaborations with stakeholders such as WHO, Gavi, UNICEF, PAHO, and various other organizations like BMGF, CEPI, PATH, and several others. So I stand at your disposal to make sure that your voice is heard, and we have made sure in last 3 years this voice is reaching the right lobby, and things are happening. They have started begin to happen, and I seek your good wishes for the future. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Suri. It's very impressive, the presentation. I listened to this presentation several times before, and I always get proud of the achievements of our network. And now, as you are all aware about the key role of our network, I will start making some questions to our guests. starting by Dr. Adriansjah. Dr. Adriansjah, what are the elements in strengthening the global vaccine ecosystem?
Thank you very much for the question. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for inviting DCVMN for this very prestigious meeting. So yes, based on lessons learned from the pandemic crisis, we see that more attention has now focused on how can we strengthen the ecosystem of vaccine in general. You see now, in terms of ecosystem, there are two types. One is internal, regarding the vaccine industry itself, and one external involving other stakeholders here. So from the internal part of the vaccine industry, you see that the first and very most important role is R&D, because R&D here is one part that needs to be well exploited in terms of tech transfer, and also how can we again access to technology in the fastest and easiest way. And one of the challenging items in terms of tech transfer is of course IP, and hopefully this can be done in relation to the crisis of this pandemic. And secondly, what we need to do is that having gone through R&D, we have also to have very, very well and defined clinical trials, because clinical trial development is very important to know the safety and efficacy of one vaccine. So we know that many trials have been done, basically done in LMIC countries. So countries in the developing world has the very good potential to execute clinical trial sites when need be. So I think it's a very good alignment for us to be in line with North and South collaboration. And once we have that, we go into now manufacturing, where we have a lot of investments done need to increase capacity building, because you know that the need for vaccine deployment is very high. So manufacturing is one part that needs to be done in great care, because of course investment has to be done, and the platform that we're going to use is also one point that asks for us to engage in the technology that we're going to invest in terms of facility. Now, of course, when you go into distribution, one of the most key elements in vaccine is the cold chain system. We see that based on lessons learned from the pandemic, we have a variety of temperature for vaccines from 2 to 8 until -70. So this can be a big challenge for us, for public sector entity, to try to have this vaccine deployed in areas. For example, in Indonesia, we have 13,000 islands, and we have to distribute this vaccine equally among islands. And this is one part that a cold chain distribution system has to be well in place. And of course, in terms of the traceability of this vaccine, a good track and trace system has to be embedded, because we can know where does the vaccine come from and where does it go. And this is also one point for us to be able to be engaged in terms of the ecosystem in the industry itself. Outside of that industry, of course, the regulatory harmonization, regulatory expeditement is one important part, and also the policymakers that can exploit this vaccine is one important factor for us to be engaged. Of course, and also the vendors that are supporting the raw materials has also be engaged in this whole ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Adriansjah. Tiago, in your opinion, what do we need to strengthen our capabilities, innovation capabilities here in Brazil, in order to strengthen our role to not only to the Brazilian public health, but also for the regional public health?
Thank you, Mauricio, and thanks for bringing this opportunity for the DCVMN board to be here in Brazil. We are very happy and very proud for this moment. I think the unique in the last 5 years that I'm in this journey. But now I'd like to excuse the board to answer the question in Portuguese to my attendance here, okay? I don't know if you want to connect here, but I'd like to reply this in Portuguese. Bom dia, pessoal. Prazer representar não só o Butantan, mas o Brasil dentro desse conselho de membros, né, da indústria, de fabricação.
Of the industry of manufacturers of vaccines. And with respect to Mauricio's question, I think it's important for us to leave a message here. You saw in the presentations by Mr. Surya and some figures that he alluded to. What we must notice in Brazil, that we're lagging behind the other countries and the manufacturers on this block of countries, especially South Korea, India, China. So we have a long way ahead in terms of growth, not only in innovation, but also in capacity building and industrial capacity. And we have the challenge of catering to the needs of our public health system. That's the greatest legacy we have, the greatest volume of vaccines and demand with new vaccines coming in. That's the opportunity we have to reverse that trend with a great deal of investments, mostly in innovation. We have many gaps to bridge, innovation that we must fill those gaps, technological platforms that we don't have access to, services that we depend on the high external hiring to provide the needs for laboratories, and we end up getting in line, and that's what holds projects back: the lack of resources and also the lack of time, and that leads innovation projects to the Death Valley, if you will. It takes them to the lowest depths of the Death Valley. Bridging those gaps requires investment so the projects won't die on the way to in the course of their trajectory. We need to ensure investments that won't, it has to be a state policy. It has to be embraced by the current government, but it has to be built into a state policy so we won't have to revisit this issue in 4 years' time. China and India and South Korea, they started investing and for a long time, and they provide building a human capital. There is a work on ensuring that Brazilian scientists will be repatriated. For example, there was a lot of brain drain. They went to work abroad, and we must bring them back. And that's exactly what India, China, and South Korea have been doing. The dengue epidemics that we're currently going through will be a leverage to increase our perception as a Brazilian representative on this council. I see that on this board, I see that that's what we have to do to get to the same level that these companies in other countries have reached. So thank you.
Rachel, as I said before, the South Korea is no longer a developed country. It's a high-income country now. Developing, yeah, it's now a high-income country, but you are still making part of our board. My question is, our network. My question is, in your perspective, how South Korean regional manufacturers acted in response to the pandemic for vaccine security, and how about the lessons learned?
So thank you for your question, and also thank you for extending invitation to all the board of directors members of DCVMN to this very important gathering. So though South Korea was the third country which is in-house developed the vaccine and therapeutics licensed for the pandemic in the world, and I must acknowledge that Korea was the latecomer to the market, as the first vaccine was only licensed in July 2022. However, as Dr. Rajinder Suri stated in his presentation, the collaboration between Korean manufacturers and multinationals was very active for the production of vaccines and therapeutics for equitable access during the pandemic. So as you may have heard, as Suri presented, a few notable collaboration with the big players of South Korea was Samsung Biologics with Moderna and SK Bioscience with AstraZeneca and Novavax. So South Koreans were able to have access to locally manufactured vaccines through the collaborating with multinationals. And also we pursued the dual strategies in parallel, which means that we produce the vaccines in collaboration with the multinationals while developing our own vaccines. So as you may have heard, then Korea experienced Korean War in 1950, and nothing was left. And with the ashes, we developed. There was an economic development led by a strong leader, and then we become one of the OECD countries now. So we do have a 빨리빨리 nature. 빨리빨리 means immediately, as soon as possible culture. So which was one of the drivers for fast economic development of South Korea. And same thing can be applied to manufacturing business of South Korea, including the biopharmaceuticals. So in addition to this, and South Korean manufacturers have a facility and capabilities in compliance with the CGMP standards at relatively lower cost. And also South Korea has a very stringent national regulatory system, so Ministry of Food and Drug Safety, which was listed as one of the first 3 WHO listed authorities recently. And for vaccine development and funding support was available not only from internal, but also from external sources, global stakeholders, and South Korean government. So they enable us enable us to act promptly and actively during the pandemic. So in that sense, and I think strengthening regional production capabilities in response to emerging demands, as the session title says, is critical. So enhancing the vaccine development and technology transfer, the partnership is key. So partnership between manufacturers and developers and with different stakeholders, for example, public, private funders, and regional, supranational regulators and policymakers, and in particular, I have to echo what Suri presented, and sustainable funding is a key for developing countries' vaccine manufacturers network as a tool of risk sharing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Now let's make a question to Sunil, Dr. Sunil Gairola. Dr. Sunil, still there? Oh, yeah. You are not hearing you.
Am I audible?
Okay. Now okay. Dr. Sunil, Serum Institute is a partner to Regional Production Vaccine Initiative for Global South vaccine demands. Please provide us an overview of Serum Institute partnerships for such initiatives.
Thanks for, Mauricio, thanks for your question. And really, I feel so bad that my all colleagues are there as a part of board, and I couldn't attend it. And Rio is a place where I would have definitely loved to come. But anyway, maybe next time, whenever there is a meeting happening in Sao Paulo as a AGM, I'll be there. And I'll definitely try to see Rio. Your question is with respect to serum philosophy. I consider, if you think on one line, that Serum has always worked, it has a different business model. And it has a philosophical in a way that Serum always wanted a product to be made accessible to all the people who really need them the most. And you know that the moment Serum has come in any manufacturing, they've always worked on a large scale. And that scale has gone to such an extent that, of course, the vaccine doses have been made available to the maximum people, which has happened in case of COVID also. And if you see the conventional vaccine, where I really appreciate Mr. Suri for giving such a nice presentation and giving us a boost also, I would say, as a board member, that we are doing so much. It is really surprising also, sometimes it happens. And we are only the 5% benefitor of all the, donations or the funding which is given, which is really very challenging and very alarming also, where we can supply, we are supplying more than 60% of the vaccine doses. So I really appreciate Mr. Suri, our CEO, who has really taken this task, and he is doing a very I would say nice job, but he is doing for humanity, that whosoever is the one who can really supply a material, who have a potential to supply a material, why they should be deprived of those benefits which others are getting. So this is my first take on it. And if you see Serum's contribution, I would say that you can take any product which is there. Serum has always done the maximum availability of the product, and they have reached from one place to another in Africa or in Europe, but they have supplied all the product and they have kept their promise. The stockpiling capacity, the challenge to have a risk, which Mr. Suri has already praised our CEO, Mr. Adar Poonawala, that he has taken that risk of just having a product. The moment it is approved or it is getting a regulatory nod, we are able to supply. So that risk is not because of the money, that risk is because of the humanity. Because we wanted to serve humanity, that's why we have done it. And I'm very lucky to have working with, as a board also, with the Serum Institute, because we have those philosophies in place. And secondly, if you see that Serum has always made a product and they have already gone for a pre-qualification. And pre-qualification is the one which has a wider reach in terms of supplying a product. And best example is the Manafrivac. You can imagine that that was only for the sub-Saharan African countries. And maximum challenge was that the vaccine has to be supplied at 40 cents. So you can imagine it's a lifelike product with a diluent still at a 40 cents. So it was really a call on only humanity. So Serum has worked on it and Serum has delivered that product. Now more than 300 million doses have been given. And you can imagine that now Man-A disease is completely gone out of that. But unfortunately, the bacteria has its own way of living a life. So now there is a C is coming up or there is a Axis is coming up. So then again, we have taken a call that we will go for a polymanage. Now polymanage is a pentavalent. So all products which needs to be as a part of making the humanity and human health well in terms of meningitis cases, we have developed that product. And today that product is a WHO pre-qualified product. So you can, one thing you can definitely see that there need to be a partnership which is happening. And for Man-A, there were at least, I would say, a path was there, WHO was there, foundation was there, and it was a very great partnership. So unless we believe on partnership, unless we believe on scientific sharing, unless we have a belief on ourselves, I think this cannot be done, but this is being done by the DCVMN members. And I'm very sure that even newer products which are coming up, we have a very good role to play. And as far as my say on the partnership which is happening with the African countries or Global South, I would say that we are already in partnership with Aspen, we are already in partnership with the DAK, and Vaxira, of course, as Mr. Suri told about it, Senegal. So these are different products which are happening. And one thing I must appreciate on parts of on the part of the African regulators. Normally, what happens that once you have a product approval from a regulation which is little higher, which we say as a EMA or USFDA, then there is an approval from the other side. But R21 malaria case is a true example how the sovereignty in terms of the regulation has gone up. We got an approval from NAFDAC. We got an approval from Ghana. Ghana was the first one to give. So you can imagine their evaluation and the need, they have done it. And this is a very good sign in terms of what I say that the regulatory framework, which is getting improved, will definitely give a sort of a surpass and a very good sort of a advantage to all the manufacturers who are there. So those are the things which are happening, and we are very happy about it. Of course, now R21, we have got a WHO PQ. And as I told you that we always want to go for WHO PQ because we want to reach to the maximum and reach to the real needy who wants the product. Now Ghana and Nigeria, they have approved our product even before WHO PQ, really very strong. And the vaccine is now approved from 5 months to 3 years of age. So malaria is one story. And can you imagine the moment Serum enters into the field? Of course, RTS is available as a product, but the only gap which is happening is the accessibility, the availability of the product. And you have to definitely think about if it is 10 million or 20 million, what is the population need to be immunized and what is the population which still will have a gap in it. But when I say that Serum can give 150 to 200 million doses. So everyone in the countries in Africa or in the countries where the product is needed, they can definitely plan their immunization schedule to such an extent that each and individual is protected. So this is where Serum has a very big contribution in that. And I will definitely say that Serum is always in support of the local production, which happens in the African continent. We have it's all now in public. We have a good correlation, coordination with one of the Ghana companies called DEK. And Aspen, is already known. But then if you see the Ghana and Aspen, it's a total different philosophy. Aspen is already something which is established. They've already made 1.5 million doses of J&J product. So they have that knowledge of doing it. But the moment we come to DEK, we have started a collaboration from a groundbreaking. So we are involved with them from designing a facility and of course to the erection of a facility, and it's a long-term project. So Serum has never restricted in terms of that this technology is only for Serum. No, we wanted to share the technology. We want to work for humanity, and this is being done. So I think in short, I would say that these are the two diversities. Aspen, little advanced in terms of J&J product they have made, and they have the facilities, and DAK just starting as a groundbreaking things. So that way we are sharing our knowledge, sharing our technology, and we would love to have that each individual who is needy, requires a product, should get a product. And that's the philosophy I think Serum has, which is, I won't say only philanthropy, but yes, it is something which is very much humanitarian. And I will wait for the next questions if are there. That's where I close my answer to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sunil. The capacity of the Serum Institute is always impressive. Yeah. Let me turn now to this side, although we are all at the same side. Yeah. I will start by Dr. Venkatraman from Bharat Institute. Dr. Venkat, how can vaccine manufacturers collaborate in the light of regional vaccine manufacturing programs to benefit the entire global south while addressing vaccine inequities?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Dr. Zuma. Interesting question. Let me answer this in two parts. We are talking of inequity, inequity, and we are talking of collaboration. I think it's important that we understand this term inequity. Was there a real inequity? Or there was inequity, a simple one letter E and I? I think there's a lot of difference between this. Inequity, we talk of equal opportunity. Inequity, we talk of unkindness. If you look at the UNICEF's data on vaccination, from 2000 to 2019, the DPT coverage has been going up from 80% to 90+%. And UNICEF supplies are majoritarily to the LMICs and LIC countries. So vaccines are reaching. And DPT is also the benchmark for assessment of other vaccine coverages. Relatively, other vaccines also had been supplied to these countries, and the data shows that. There came pandemic. We had a lopsidedness. Post-pandemic, again, the vaccine supplies ramped up, and we achieved pre-pandemic levels. So what does this tell us? Basically, the issue was during pandemic. During pandemic, many of those wealthy countries received the vaccine, and as we saw in one of the slides here by, I think, Dr. Christopher, Africa was blank. I think it is not inequity, it's inequity, I guess. I think we are addressing here the issue of collaboration, the issue of local manufacturing, not for just other vaccines, to be prepared for the future pandemics. For that purpose, I guess we need to be sustainable. And that is where the issue of collaboration comes in, the discussion on collaboration comes in. In fact, if you look at local manufacturing, the thoughts on local manufacturing has come a full cycle. Several decades ago, I'm sure even in South America, or at least I know in Asia and Africa, The non-profit institutes or state-owned enterprises were the ones who were manufacturing the vaccines. And over a period of time, several of them disappeared and could not sustain, probably because of increased requirement of GMP, QMS, and most importantly, investments on the complete product life cycle, which was not possible by these institutes. And today we are talking of almost 40 to 50 projects, new projects, local manufacturing, around 30 plus are in Africa itself. It is very important to have these local manufacturing from the point of view of ramping up capacities to be prepared for a future pandemic and therefore today's sustainability. So when this has to happen, what kind of collaboration has to happen is very important. The reason I'm saying this is, in my experience, I've been traveling to several countries. Many country governments normally talk of, complying to the captive requirements. Just to give in a very simple way, pentavalent is procured by the countries. I'm talking of the low-income countries. Pentavalent is procured, tetanus toxoid is procured, hepatitis B is procured. When we discuss with the ministry agencies, they say, we would like to have a facility here. Since we are already procuring this, we will manufacture these products. I don't think that is important. That will not give the sustainability. What is important is to bring in vaccines where, the reason I'm saying this is, there is a conundrum here. If we bring in these kind of regular vaccines, that is, older vaccines into manufacturing with the local entities, you will see these are already licensed and large capacity manufacturers are already there. Their pricing will go up. That is because of the volumes being, the capacities being vacant there, and also the overhead cost allocation goes up. Now, when you look at newer vaccine, the conundrum is that if we seed these projects with new vaccines, the product rolls out after 10 to 12 years. And these new facilities cannot sustain for so long to generate revenue. So we need to find a via media here. Obviously, another issue here I just want to digress a bit and talk of. Unfortunately or fortunately, we have been having solutions and scampering for needs. The Western world or the North, if you look at excellent epidemiologic data available, and what they do is they look for solution in the form of identifying vaccine manufacturing, vaccines, because they know the need. So need drives the solution. And these solutions are thrust upon us, we scamper for the need. Product is available, we look for need. I think we need to have a disruption here. We have excellent intellectual capital available in all over emerging world. The issue is that we are kind of getting used to the donor-recipient activity. The Western world has set up laboratories, infrastructure available, and our intellectual capitals are normally towards compliance mode. Yes, we need this. Yes, we can offer this. I think we need to disrupt here, and that is the way forward in becoming self-reliant. The way we disrupt this, we need to have our own epidemiological data. Probably that will help us look at some of these existing manufacturers who have the newer vaccines. They are able to provide this based on the epidemiological data to those regions, because the existing vaccine manufacturers who have ramped up the conventional vaccines, as I said, will create a lopsidedness. When we look at newer vaccines, I will take an example of our own institution. We manufacture the typhoid conjugate vaccine. We are the innovators. In fact, I should share here with you that the first innovator, I think to my knowledge, an innovative vaccine came from the developing world, the conjugate typhoid vaccine, and it was introduced the first time, correct me, Mr. Suri, it was introduced in the Indian pharmacopoeia. Normally, we are known to introduce all vaccines complying to the British pharmacopoeia. The first vaccine, which was first in the monograph, came as, it came into the monograph as an Indian pharmacopoeia monograph, rather. So when we introduced, WHO did not even look at prioritizing this vaccine. There was no SAGE recommendation. We had to do this, and when we talk to countries, we look at, we hear from them that yes, there is endemic situation for typhoid, but then there is treatment. So this is an optional vaccine. But then we went ahead and doing this. The simple reason why I'm sharing this thing is that there are two issues. One is innovation. maverickness. The other one is, if we had epidemiological data with us, possibly there would have been several countries would be picking up the vaccine. It took 5 years for us to even fulfill the funding available for this vaccine. So while it is very important and critical that local manufacturers have to be supported for ramping up capacity, we have to also look at balancing the sustainability and affordable pricing. And affordable pricing is another big chapter we could discuss on and on. And also in terms of product portfolio. And this is important. As the other speakers were mentioning, during COVID, as Mr. Suri was mentioning in his presentation, during COVID, there were interesting collaborations that we saw. Innovators versus manufacturers. And I think this model can provide some solution to future in terms of collaboration. And talking of collaboration, I think this is not new to us. I should share with you, in 1975, India stopped manufacturing of drug substance of polio. There are 4 or 5 fillers ever since. With 1.4 billion population, with 26 million birth cohort. The birth cohort of India is more than the population of several countries. Just fillers. We only formulate fill, and today India has eradicated polio. Excellent collaboration. The bulk comes from another country, Indonesia. As I'm speaking today, there was another collaboration that is happening in the South America is for an influenza vaccine. A Russian company is supplying to a small country in South America the influenza vaccine. It was a debatable issue. I have been I've been reading this. There was a lot of debate on whether this will be a successful project. Today I can share that this country is supplying this vaccine to 11 other countries in the whole region. I think this is a success of collaboration, I guess. So it is important to collaborate, and how we collaborate is important, looking at the other parameters that are important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Venkat. Excellent. Dr. Andrew, a question also about collaboration. As Industry Association of Developing Countries Vaccine Manufacturers, what role can DCVMN play in fostering collaboration among member companies to work collectively in preparation for the next pandemic?
Thank you, Dr. Professor Ruma, and also thank you for the ISA organizer to offer our opportunity here to participate. So as developing country vaccine manufacturer networks, as Dr. Suri already introduced to you, it is a well-established platforms for companies to work together. And as a member companies, as 45 member companies as of today, and 11 companies from China. So we do member companies, we've been working together through this network. I think pre-COVID pandemic, it's mainly about marketing access, market access, and to work on finished product. But during the COVID, I think everybody experiences, especially as a Chinese company like us, we experienced 3 years lockdown. So global supply chain disruption, that was a big issues. And during the COVID, I've been travel to different countries. I heard loud from the government side, from industry side, consumer side, everyone wanted to have the vaccine now made locally. So local manufacture become a trend. And you can see now there's a company, member companies, we work with member companies, with non-member companies, and doing more and more projects, like Serum Institute did, and with Vaxira, like Walvax did with our Indonesia partner, Etana, for establishing local manufacturing capability. So DCVMN is really a wonderful platform for member companies to work together within the network and also with out of their work. So that would be the number one. And also DCVMN also foster collaborations by offer opportunity to training the member companies to enabling such as the local technology transfer opportunities, the workshop being offered, I think, annually, like in Helmholtz Institute in Singapore, and also in the International Vaccine Institute in South Korea. So those are the opportunity. And last and not the least, it is a DCM online training like modules, and do offer member company access to all those, the accumulation of knowledges and also the prior experiences to enable our member companies to work better, work smarter. So certainly this network is do benefit tremendously to member companies, and also benefit the global community, global South, global North, because our China is belong to the global North, but we've been working very closely with global South companies in all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Andrew. Now a question to Fernando Lobos. Fernando, being Sinergium a member of the mRNA tech transfer program established by WHO and Medicine Patent Pool, which are the strengths that this initiative has to better support the regional production and supply of products in this global South?
Thank you, Mauricio. Thank you for the invitation of being here. I'm from Argentina, so I play like local. I'm very happy to be here. So for those that are not familiar with the program, the mRNA program was set by WHO and MPP after the success of the mRNA COVID vaccines, to try to develop the technology and to share the technology with 15 companies around the world. So the technology is being developed by a company in Africa, in South Africa, African, and from there is being shared to all the other 14 members. So it's a unique program that with the technical support of WHO and MPP is developing this technology not only for COVID but for many other diseases. So the platform is being set, and many of us mentioned today that the collaboration is key. So the new innovation is collaboration, and I think this is a great example of that, because there are 15 companies all sharing the same development and experiences and putting hands-on on that, and we are learning from the others, not only for the good things, but also the things that are going bad. Of course, there are huge challenges to go through, and IP issues and a lot of technology issues. But at the same time, we are putting in the platform new technologies and new things that we are discovering. So I think that of course it will take a longer term to have products from these platforms, but we are sharing the risk. We are reducing the risk because we are moving faster and sharing knowledge, and at the end we will have some products that we can share between regions. So the other thing that I would want to mention regarding collaboration is how collaboration is made. I think we need to put some brain on collaboration and decide what you are putting on the table for collaboration to others, and what you are expecting from others through that collaboration. So in that sense, many of these companies are in very different regions. We are in Latin America, but others are in Asia or in Africa, etc. So the environment and the situation and the culture is very different. So we need to understand what we want and what we can get from there. And here in the Americas, we have Fiocruz and Bio-Manguinhos and Sinergium, both companies leading this project for the Americas, and probably in the future with the possibility of sharing also this knowledge to the rest of the companies in the region. So finally, I think it's a great program. still needs to demonstrate a lot, but is one of the unique opportunities or initiatives that we have 15 companies sharing a technology and developing a technology from scratch. And I think we will see the results faster sooner than later.
Thank you, Fernando. Thank you very much. We are partners in this program, yeah? Mr. Suri, although you have made that very interesting presentation, instructive presentation, I have also a question for you. So if you can briefly answer us, as a CEO of DCVMN, what's your vision of regional vaccine manufacturing, and what kind of opportunities do you foresee going forward?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mauricio, for this question. I am very sensitive about the time. I think it's lunchtime, so the trickle has already started. So I'll be very short, very brief, so that I don't stand between you and lunch. You know, from the DCVMN perspective, when we are looking at the whole scenario, the landscape of vaccine manufacturers, I think there are three important cardinal principles which we have to keep in mind. Venkat was talking about sustainability. So the first thing that I think everybody has to look at is the sustainability of vaccine manufacturing. It is not proliferation of manufacturing that is required, which was very wrongly being understood by many countries and many people around many agencies, that you should have more and more number of vaccine manufacturers to ensure equitable access to vaccines. No, it is wrong. So what is really required is that you should have sustainable manufacturing, even if when we are talking about Latin America, we are talking about Africa, where inequities of vaccines were reported during COVID-19. I think what is important is a holistic mapping of the whole continent, that what is being manufactured, where it is being manufactured, and how much can ensure that the vaccine manufacturers, whosoever are they are having a sustainable business over a long period of time. That is number one. Number two, which is very important and was missed out, I think, in the first 2 years, was that it has to be an exact matching of drug substance and drug product. What we did was a rat race. We simply went on building capacities for the drug product. And I was told at one point of time when I was delivering a talk in Africa that we have a capacity of 5 billion doses of vaccines. So I said, if you have 5 billion, then why are you asking for something more? It is good enough. But this 5 billion is translated into drug product, not drug substance. Drug substance is zero. So then if a pandemic strikes, what will happen? Again, you'll be back to square one. So I think this is what is important, and this, the deeper insights of the people who are working at Africa CDC and PAVM, they have together worked out a plan to build the equal capacities for a drug substance, and progress has been made in at least the last 1.5 years. So that is the second one. And the third aspect is in terms of we have been talking about South-South collaborations. So it is a cultural compatibility which is important, which we need to understand. You are not Americans, you are not Europeans, you will not be able to breathe the way they breathe. So you will have to understand what are your limitations, what are your problems, challenges, whether it is power, whether it is floods, whether it is anything else. So we need to speak the same language, we need to understand the same issues that the other people are facing, and then start working together as a closely knit family to deliver what is really required. Thank you, Mauricio.
Thank you very much, Mr. Suri. It's very important what you said. And I'm afraid we will not have time for any more questions and any questions from the audience. We need to close our panel now. I want to thank you all our guests. I ask you to give an applause for all of them. And thank you for helping to make our symposium stronger and better. Okay? Tomorrow we will have our board meeting to continue discussing our issues, our strategies, and trying to make our network stronger. Thank you very much. Thank you. And now, hora do almoço agora para todo mundo.
Obrigada, senhor Mauricio Zuma. Thank you for all the presentation. Thank you. Gente, só um minutinho, mais um minutinho.
Just a second, just one more second. It's very important information. And we would like you to pay close attention to what I'm saying. You know the situation that Rio Grande do Sul is going through, the problems that Bio-Manguinhos is asking tomorrow. Obviously, we're pressed for time today, but if you could bring water or basic foodstuffs or toilet paper or food for pets, for animals, for example, for household animals. If you could bring food and leave the food over here at the entrance for donations for Rio Grande do Sul. We'll be back in 1 hour.